Welcome to The Link. This is a program all about linking you with the resources in your community. I'm Joanie Sutter. The term blindness is used for complete or nearly complete vision loss. Visual impairment may cause people difficulties with normal daily activities such as driving, reading, socializing, and walking. The latest statistics for the number of adults aged 16 to 75 plus in the U.S. reported to have a visual disability is over 7 million, or 2.3% of the population, the split between women and men being fairly even. The number of children ages 4 to 20 who are visually impaired is over 600,000. Today, we'll introduce you to our guests representing the National Federation of the Blind of Connecticut, the state affiliation of the national organization. They are not organizations speaking for the blind, but the blind speaking for themselves. They work to improve the lives of blind people in Connecticut by providing information and education to our members and the public. They are changing what it means to be blind and helps us understand that blindness need not be a tragedy. Their work ensures that blind people receive the services and training to which they are entitled, and that parents of blind children receive the advice and the support they need to help their children grow and be happy, productive adults. Let me welcome first our president of the Central Connecticut organization, Deb Reed. Deb, thank you so much for being on The Link today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. The real problem with blindness is not the loss of the eyesight, but as it states on the website, the misunderstanding and lack of information which can exist.
You have a good point there, because when you lose your eyesight, it is a traumatic thing, but in this day and age, there are so many tools to help you lead an independent life. And that's part of the National Federations of the Blind's mission, is to help you to realize that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day, the National Federation of the Blind raises expectations for blind people because low expectations create obstacles for blind people in their dreams. And blindness does not have to hold you back. You can live the life you want.
Deb, we're going to talk a little bit about your personal story before we talk about the chapter that you're president of and all the resources and educational tools and also social things that are available. So let's talk about your story a little bit.
Well, my eyesight was always a bit of an issue, but my life was led pretty normally through eyeglasses and contact lenses up until 2010 when I started to get glaucoma, and I noticed as I was driving, I was losing that white line on the shoulder was starting to have spaces that were missing. So once that diagnosis came along, I was just told by the ophthalmologist, you need to stop driving. And my work was with seniors, disabled seniors. I had to drive them as a homemaker companion to their homes, take them to the doctor. So that was something I was going to have to give up.
Mm-hmm. And how long has that been since you had to give up the driving?
Since 2010.
Since 2010.
Yeah.
And when did you become affiliated with this organization?
Well, fortunately for me, the very first thing that enters a lot of people's minds when they have to give up driving is, how am I going to get anywhere? My husband was still working full-time, and so paratransit was something that I needed to find out about. And this is a service that is in any town that has a public bus route. This is a door-to-door service that will run in that town. Currently it's $3 each way. And when I called the Connecticut Regional Planning Agency, the woman that worked there at the time had just gone through the journey of blindness with her husband. They were in a motorcycle accident, and at the age of, I believe it was his late 40s, he lost his vision completely. So she gave me a lot of resources, and when I got certified to ride paratransit, I was so grateful, and I still am very grateful for that service.
One thing that I didn't realize is some towns and cities that offer bus service, it's a flag system.
Right.
Some have actual stops. But, so obviously if it has an actual stop, you stop and you wait and the bus will come. But if it's a flag system and have a visual impairment, you can't see the bus to flag it.
Right.
And so I know that paratransit is very important in cases like that because people wouldn't have the access to the public transportation, which would be hard anyway.
It would be very hard because even bus stops are not always very close to somebody's house. You may have to walk a distance.
Right, and that can be difficult. Some of the resources, when you got involved, you weren't the president at the time.
No.
So you got involved with the organization, and some of the resources is the guide dog users, parents of blind children, job seekers, and the NFB Newsline for the blind is one of those. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, this is a wonderful thing for people in particular that enjoy newspapers, magazines, the flyers, weekly flyers from their supermarkets. So this is a service that you can access either by telephone, you can access it on a smartphone or on the internet, and it's something that's free.
And for those who may be not visually impaired but might want some volunteer opportunities, there are several chapters in the state of Connecticut. At 7 or?
We have actually 9, and that includes an at-large chapter for those members that can't, or even people that might be thinking about joining, that can't physically get to a location for a meeting, so you can call in.
As the president, and you have a large responsibility, and part of it probably includes community outreach.
Oh, yes.
So what are some of the challenges that you've had to reach out to the community and let them know about the resources that are available to them, or people who may be in need and don't know where to turn?
Yes, well, we just want the public to know, sometimes they might have an idea about the National Federation of the Blind, and they don't realize that we're just such a variety of resources. We don't only offer support, but our experiences that we go through, someone may be able to help another member, for example, with technology. Somebody may be able to refer somebody to certain kind of training that they might need, or maybe they've attended one of the blind training centers throughout the country and they share that with us, which might, encourage somebody down the road if they needed it. They could see what a difference it's made in someone else's life, helping them to be more independent, which I think is something we really all strive for.
Tell us about those learning centers, because there is not one in Connecticut.
No, we don't have one in Connecticut, unfortunately. The closest one is in Massachusetts at the Carroll Center, but that is not they don't offer to the extent that the NFB training centers in Louisiana. There's one in Colorado, and there's one in, I keep wanting to say Missouri, but it's Minnesota. Okay, so these centers, the Bureau of Education and Services for the Blind is in Connecticut, and they can help you attend one of these centers. You can be there for 6 months or for 9 months, and during that time, you are living in an apartment with another blind individual. You are learning how to take care of your own needs with accessible techniques. You learn how to cook. You learn how to label your personal items and perhaps read Braille, although there are other technologies to help you read things if Braille isn't something you can accomplish. You attend classes to get up to speed on things like the smartphone and other things. You go grocery shopping, and you learn a lot of orientation and mobility. It's a small town, I understand. One of our members went to Louisiana, so the different merchants in the town are familiar with us. And so you can go to the grocery store, and it's just, you get so much more confident in your ability to navigate through life.
Depth perception must be very difficult for people who are not totally impaired with their sight. And so to be able to navigate sidewalks and in and out of doors and stores and that kind of thing is something that would take practice. Yeah,
that's definitely something. That's one of the first things that when you get your blindness certificate from your ophthalmologist, the Bureau of Education and Services of the Blind comes out to your house. They have an orientation and mobility instructor and they practice using the white cane. And I know at first, like a lot of people, I was really shy about using it because I have usable vision, and I didn't want anybody to feel sorry for me, and I didn't want to stand out. But through time, I realized that not only did it keep me safe, but it alerted other people that I had a compromised visual field. So I may have been bumping into people, and they thought, oh, how rude she is, but there was a reason for it, and that cane lets them know.
Right. And it also keeps you safe from something that maybe wouldn't be in your peripheral vision, as you said. Some of the resources for living that the National has on their website were various resources for state and local organizations. How do you find Connecticut to be for helpful resource situations, questions being answered? I know InfoLine must be a good resource for people to even find out about you.
Mm-hmm. Well, personally, I haven't used InfoLine, but I know there is a neat marketplace in Hartford where you can go for training on technology. You can take classes. There's also a Hadley School for the Blind, which isn't based in Connecticut, but this is an online school free to visually impaired. So there's many things you can learn and get certificates in and work your way up into different areas of interest you might have, including independent living skills.
Well, there are many tools to maintain independence in Connecticut: transportation, tools for daily living, the Lions Low Vision Centers, empowerment and support groups, audiobooks, and things of that nature. And in our closing 30 seconds here, time goes by so fast, changing what it means to be blind, what does that mean to you?
What it means is that we want a voice, and we want people to know that if you're going through this journey, it helps to be around other people that have gone through it too. And we can definitely make each other stronger and learn from one another.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you,
and when
Joanie.
we come back, we'll be with another representative of this wonderful organization. Welcome back. This program is all about linking you with the resources in your community. In the second half of this show, we're introducing you to Rebecca Ireland, who is the Secretary for the Central Connecticut chapter of the National Federation of the Blind. Welcome to the link. And she brought along her special friend Tatum, who we'll talk about in a minute. But before we go into the organization and what's available to people, which I know is really important for you to get that information out, Rebecca, can you tell us a little bit about your own personal story?
Well, I had lost my sight when I was 42 years old. I had a very bad case of psoriasis, which caused a major infection in my eyes, which ended up causing a lot of nerve damage. And they did try to save my sight by doing a corneal transplant in the right eye, but there was too much damage, so I had lost all my sight.
At 42.
At 42.
And so you were a newly blind person. How long was that transition from when you first had the infection to when you had total sight loss?
Well, when I first got the infection, until total sight loss, they were trying to save my sight. And when they finally said there was nothing that they could do, it was heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
It hurt, and I know that, at times at night I would just like break down crying for no reason.
Of course.
We'd get ready for bed or something, I would start crying for no reason. And
you had reason.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that. And
you
then
didn't.
When I went to go see my regular doctor, the GP, Dr. Babiars, he'd say, well, physically you're doing fine, but how are you emotionally? And I said, fine, but then I broke down and started crying in the office, and my mother, who was there, said, she's not doing fine. And so he told me it was okay because I was mourning the loss of my sight.
Yes.
So, he had put me like on a mild antidepressant to help get through that. And for a while there, it was hard because you had to basically relearn how to do a lot of things.
You did have to. And Deb had told us in the previous segment about transitional housing places that they have throughout the country where people can go and they can learn these things. But you had come from a sighted, healthy sight until you lost your vision.
Yeah.
And so now that you're in an officer role in this chapter in Connecticut, which is wonderful, when you get a phone call from someone who's calling in who's newly blind, you really get it. You really get what they're going through.
Yep.
And so you can help them, and you can help them to determine what resources they may need first, second, third, along the way. The National Federation has a section on their website that talks about changing what it means to be blind. What does that mean for you as a member of this organization?
Well, it's to show people that we can be as independent as a sighted person.
Mm-hmm.
That just because we can't see doesn't mean we can't do anything.
That's right. That's right.
So a lot of people sometimes feel, oh, you're blind, and their first instinct is to either make you sit down or they'll do everything for you. And it's like, no, you don't have to do everything for us. We can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know if I'm in your house or something, I'm not going to know where things are. That's different. But when you're walking down the street and you're crossing the road, or everybody's like, oh, let us help you cross the street.
Mm-hmm.
And that's nice, but you should ask first, because most times we know how to, we can do it.
So let's talk about the independence. The dog is named Tatum,
Mm-hmm.
and she is just a love and is right by your side and looks in your face at every move you make when you're moving around. How long have you had her?
I had her for 4 years now.
And how has that changed your level of independence?
Well, it makes you feel a lot more confident when I'm walking around the neighborhood or anywhere. I don't feel as nervous.
Right.
Because you do cane travel, which I could do. You're concentrating a lot more because you're waiting for the obstacles, and the cane may not get all the obstacles. Where she takes me around everything.
She takes you around everything.
Yep.
Okay. And as long as that harness is on, she's working for you whether you're outside or in the house.
Yep. And when they're working, people shouldn't distract them, because she's got to be focused on my safety.
Right. And so the key, I think, for people is that when you're seeing someone with a seeing eye dog or has a harness that says working dog, that you know to ask first if you can pet the animal. Or, I mean, it's a natural, people love animals and all, and that's natural. But yes, that's her job, is to keep you safe, as well as a member of your family, because we talked about when the harness comes off, she can fly around the house like nobody's business and play and be a regular dog, but when she's working, she's working.
Yep.
Can you talk to us about this new Pedestrian Safety Enhancement Act that was put into place in 2010?
Yeah, that's something that we really need, because for someone like me who's totally blind, I rely on what I hear on. Now, you have a little bit of vision, you might be able to see the car there, but I'm totally blind. So I'm listening for any cars coming to an intersection.
Okay.
There's some instances where I use the car to help cross intersections, like if we have an inaudible walk light or something.
Yes.
I can use the car to know when it's passing to cross with it, because then I know no one else is going to turn into my path.
Okay.
But even if I'm at a stop sign, a four-way stop sign, I have to be able to hear that car stopping before I go. Because if I don't know that car is there, and I step out into the street and go, and they just gun it, I could get hit.
Yes.
Now with Tatum, they're trained for traffic as well as just about everything else. So there was one time where it did occur, I was walking with her and I was at the corner, and I listened and it was quiet. And I said, Tatum, forward. And she went to go and she just stood there. And that means she sees something that I don't, and it's not safe. So I didn't move, and it's like a second or two after, that's when I heard the car go. And I said, well, there was a car sitting there at the stop sign that I didn't even know was there. Mm-hmm. And it must have been one of these electric cars that are so quiet. Mm-hmm. For the blind, it's dangerous because we can't hear you.
Right, and so there's sound alerts. That's part of what's going to happen in 2018, and then by 2019, even more so. And I've been hearing that, of course, electric cars, they're going to manufacturing them and making them better and better to be more popular with the general public. And so these sound alerts are going to be extra specially important for a variety of reasons.
Yep.
As far as protection of rights, is that something that the organization works on? I know national probably does, but the Connecticut chapter, do you work with the state at all on protection of rights for people that are sight impaired?
Well, if we know something's coming up, we will go to the state and tell them that, we don't like this law, or we need this to help us out.
Okay, so you do stay active with
the state. Yeah.
With the state. How about parents with children? A child who is gone through either blind from birth or gone through some kind of illness or injury that has created that. Do you see that on the state level with your other chapters even, where they come to you for resources that you might know about that they don't?
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our information out to state level in the doctor's offices and stuff.
Great.
So they know that we're there. We can tell them where they can go.
Right.
To like different schools that they can go to for like when I first lost my sight through, well, not Vesby anymore. I think they call it something else. Well, through the state, I went to the Carroll Center for the Blind in Massachusetts.
Yeah. For
like 3 months to learn how to do things independently, like cooking in the kitchen, mobility, which is just about everything, And we can educate them on the different apps and stuff that are out there too, that they have for the blind.
So the products and technologies have also grown. I mean, technology has grown so fast anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you turn around, your cell phone is no longer, as viable as the new one is. And so, the technology is just, you can't even keep up with it. It's changing so quickly. But technology, especially Apple, has been very supportive of audible sounds, microphones on the phone so you can actually leave a message, or you can text audibly and those kinds of things. Computer technology, has that been helpful for you?
Yeah, I have an Apple iPhone 6. It has the voiceover, so it reads everything to me that's on the screen.
Okay.
It also has Siri, so I can say, Siri, please send a text message to anybody, as long as they're in the contacts.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with like the phone call. I can say, Siri, please call. I have apps on there that help out, like I have what they call a Seeing Eye GPS, which gives us directions to, like, I could put it on and it'll tell me if I walk in an area I'm unfamiliar with and I'm on my own, it'll tell me what intersections I'm walking up to. Like, okay, in Plainville, if you're walking down, going toward Woodford, it'll say Woodford Street to the right and Pine Street to the left.
Okay.
And East Street or Route 10, north and south. It's letting you know where you are and how close you're getting.
Right, that's wonderful.
It gives you what they call points of interest, like it'll say Saks Pizza, General Electric, Walgreens, or CVS, things are in that area.
So you know where, how far you are from them and you're coming up to them.
Yeah.
In our about 30 seconds left here, time has gone by so fast with you too. Part of the NFB of Connecticut is not an organization that speaks for the blind, but the blind speaking for themselves.
Yep.
And that is so important because...
That's so important because we actually know what it's like to be blind. And we're like the best advocates for the blind to express to people what we need, how you can help us, how we can help you.
Right.
Or
even collaborate. We all live together and we need to understand. We think we might understand, but maybe we don't. So someone who's actually living it every day does know. And that's so important.
Yep.
So I want to thank you so much for coming on the program and bringing Tatum.
Thank you for having us.
You're more than welcome, and we hope to see you again soon.
Okay.
All right, for all of us, on behalf of Nutmeg TV, good day.